Hey guys, welcome to the Trophy Life podcast. I'm your host, Tara Smith. From beauty to wellness, wife life, motherhood, and everything feminine in between, the Trophy Life podcast is a place where you can feel inspired and empowered and ultimately create the life that you desire and deserve. It's hot to romanticize your life, so grab a mocktail or your favorite cozy beverage and let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Trophy Life. If you are watching this on YouTube, I am a very tired girly this week for some reason, which is weird because I am in my follicular phase of my cycle, and for some reason, I think my Oura Ring has been saying that my sleep quality, like my deep sleep, has been like 14-15%, which is like not optimal, and it's definitely showing on my energy levels. So I am running the no makeup, I'm still in my workout clothes vibe for today because, you know, sometimes a girl just doesn't want to get full glam, and that's okay. Life update wise for you guys, I don't really have anything since we chatted about Hawaii and how everything in that, you know, vicinity went. I actually forgot to write down 5 favorites for today, but I'm just going to skip it for this week because I feel like I literally have not had any favorites of the week. Like you know what my favorite thing is? Actually, I'll tell you one thing, okay? This has been something that I've been doing, and I think the spring energy of it all just really brings it to light. But I have been cleansing and getting rid of so much in my home. This room that I'm in for my filming my podcast is my PR room as well. So like that cabinet back there that you can see has all PR in it. That's just body care and like self-tan stuff. And then there's a closet in this room, and there are like, I think like 7 different bins, like huge, like 3-tier bins that has like a ton of PR in it. So I just went through and I'm going to be donating a lot of it to women at my church, and I gave some of it to friends because sometimes it gets to a point where like I'm so grateful, and it still blows my mind that, you know, PR is like a thing, but it also is very excessive, and it's very easily, at least for me as a content creator, to almost like feel guilty where I'm like honestly, I'm such a minimal person, and I don't even use any skincare anymore from besides one brand, which is Tatcha. I don't use any skincare from any other brand. I only use the stuff that I make, and it's literally because it's the only skincare that has ever, you know, like not made me break out and has given me the best results, and it's not hurting my hormones. So, yeah, a lot of this stuff I don't use anymore, and so it's really great that I can give it away. I obviously give a ton of it away constantly to the Trophy Life community, and if you didn't know, I will remind you of that again. I'm constantly giving away boxes, just to people who listen to the podcast, because you guys honestly deserve it the most, because this is where I'm channeling a lot of my energy, and I appreciate you so much for listening. And all you have to do is rate and review the show, and then comment on either one of my recent posts on Instagram or the Trophy Life Club account on Instagram. So it's literally that easy, and then that automatically enters you. And of course, if you're subscribed on YouTube as well, and like following all the other accounts. So just like basic things, which I'm guessing if you are listening to this, then you already follow me and Trophy Life Club on Instagram. And if you don't, then let this be your sign. Okay, so in today's episode, wait, did I tell you guys what my favorite thing was? I'm just cleansing through my house. Yes, I did. By the way, I did the very brave thing that I need to tell you about, because hopefully it can inspire you. So since Colby and I got married in 2018, I don't think I have ever gone through like my denim. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it's very hard, especially with having Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, the way that you literally gain weight from nothing. You don't change anything. You can be, in fact, working out really hard can actually literally make you gain weight with Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. It is the most frustrating, like, I always say it's embarrassing as well, thing, because you don't feel like yourself because your mind is in a different spot than your brain. It's the weirdest thing. Anyways, because of that, and my weight fluctuates like crazy, like I'm talking like 10 to 15 pounds, it fluctuates within 1 to 2 months. Like that's not a normal thing from not changing anything in your life. And when I was pregnant, it was like even crazier than that. So um but my thyroid is healing actually. I did get blood work done, by the way. I will give you an update on that as well. But anyways, I cleaned out my jeans and I tried everything on and I was like, if this pair of jeans does not fit me perfectly, they no longer serve me and I'm getting rid of them. I probably had, I'm not exaggerating, probably like, I want to say like 40 pairs of jeans, which I know is like so excessive and I've just been keeping them over the years. Like if they don't fit me, I'll be like, oh, they'll fit me soon. They'll fit me soon. Once I lose like this weight or whatever, and usually it was always weight around my midsection, which is very common with Hashimoto's. And anyways, even when I would lose weight, they still usually wouldn't fit because it would just, my body would just hold on to weight right there. Anyways, and I finally went through my jeans and I got rid of stuff that no longer basically serves me, and it felt absolutely incredible. And I probably now have like 6 pairs of jeans, and I may want to like rebuild the jean section one day in my house or in my closet, but my house, goodbye, in my closet. But for now, I'm like, I just want to keep things very minimal, especially like when I am getting ready to get pregnant in the future. I'm like, I don't really know if jeans are going to be like my go-to pair of pants that I wear when I'm pregnant. So maybe they will be, I don't know, but I'll get to that when I get there. So for now, I'm kind of just sticking with pants. And like I love like a good silk pant in the summer. So cute. Love like a nice like dress pant. The best. So that's kind of that vibe. And then my thyroid levels are looking really well. They're trending down, which means that my thyroid production is going up. It's like very confusing. Which is very, very awesome. And I'm excited to continue to improve them. But yeah, my endocrinologist was like, they're looking great. So yeah, it's very exciting to see improvement literally for the first time in my life in that area with my hormones since, I don't know, probably since I was like 14 years old, which is crazy. Like it's when I look at blood work that I had when I was in high school, I'm like, this poor girl, dude, her hormones were so out of whack. And like it makes a lot of sense because I dealt with a lot of depression when I was in high school, and I was a competitive athlete, so I'd work out for like 2 to 3, sometimes even 4 hours a day. And it all makes sense where I'm like, okay, this makes sense why you were like dealing with depression. Is like no shocker, because look at your thyroid levels. And a lot of times Hashimoto's and like, depression and stuff kind of go hand in hand, unfortunately. But yeah, I am really excited for what we're going to chat about in today's episode. I'm obviously, I was working on this episode, like I came up with this topic idea probably like a week ago, and I am 27. So I'm in like my early late 20s is what I call it, because I don't feel like I'm in my mid 20s anymore. I feel like I'm in my early late 20s. And I don't know, there's been a lot of things that I've done for myself in my 20s, and it's not just things like journaling or like I actually don't go to therapy, and it's just therapy's not something that's specifically ever benefited me personally, which I know is like not really, I don't really think it's a hot take, but I feel like everyone kind of thinks you have to do things like a certain way, and if something doesn't work for you, then something's wrong with you, where it's like, I just don't think it's that deep. These are things that have like actually really changed me, and for the most part they're all kind of like mindset shifts, I want to say, that I have had, and there's 20 of them. So like 20 best things that I've done for myself in my 20s. Okay, so I broke them down into kind of like different categories. So there's a self-worth and boundaries category, a body and wellness category, relationships and marriage, motherhood and future planning. And then the last one I wrote was trophy life energy. And I thought that that was so cute to just channel our inner trophy life energy because it felt very fitting. So let's start off with self worth and boundaries. And I know that a lot of people can kind of view self worth and boundaries differently. But hopefully my 5 things that I wrote down in this category will kind of help you define what that is, at least in my mind. So the first thing I have is trusting my own gut over someone else's opinion. Now this could kind of be like I'm not talking also here I'm not talking about my husband because I know this sounds maybe like a little weird, but it's genuinely how I feel. I feel like in a lot of ways my husband and I are like literally the same person because we are on the same page in so many ways. Honestly, maybe that's why I don't need therapy is because he's literally like my therapist. I'm not joking. Colby is he's very intelligent, but he's also insanely emotionally intelligent. So he can literally, if I have a problem, he's very good at solving problems, any type of problem. Um, but like if someone in my life, even someone who I respect, gives me an opinion that I'm like, like I'll just kind of I'll internalize it and then I'll just like leave it. And one quote that I always say to myself, which this could kind of sound harsh, but I think it's important to sometimes like level with yourself and be honest, is I always say I would never take advice from someone who I wouldn't trade places with. Like I wouldn't like switch their life, which obviously you're not going to know what's going on in someone's life, but like that can be a very good indicator because most of the times you're probably going to say no. Like they're all the choices that this person has made. So I just think it's very important to be very careful with whose advice you listen to outside of like your spouse essentially because and even maybe for you it is your spouse as well. Like you really need to trust your own gut and learning to do that and I feel like that is definitely something that I have been navigating in my 20s and I will continue to get better at. Second thing, which I would say this is only something very recently that I have been doing. And I'm saying like in the past like 2 months is I've learned to say no without feeling guilt. I have always been somebody who like I really care and I really value other people's opinions and I know that about myself and it can sometimes be a negative thing. Like I want to be liked. I don't want bad blood with people. None of that. Like I will usually I'll like lessen myself in some ways to appease other people. And one of those things is saying yes to something that I actually don't want to do or something that isn't going to serve me like in any way. So, funny enough, this was kind of like a huge reason why I wanted to move states was because when you live very close to both sides of family, it can sometimes just be a lot. You're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of opinions. And for me, I was like, I don't know if I like living like by family with all this stuff that comes with it. Yes, there's a lot of good, but at the same time, I was like, I kind of just want my own space. And it's very easy when you live in another state to like, people don't ask you to do things a lot or go to things, or there's not like that pressure. And I think, again, I think it's like, it's just something that I have very much so learned to do. And you don't owe anybody a explanation for anything. I think another thing is because of technology, and technology is obviously incredible in so many ways. I don't have just like, obviously that's like a given, but because of technology at the same time, a lot of people demand your time, your energy, like immediately. Like they don't even think about like if someone texts me, and I've experienced this in my own personal life, so I'm just sharing an experience. Someone, if I don't respond to them within like a few days, someone else will reach out and be like, why didn't you respond to this person? And I'm like, I'm busy, like I'm doing other things, like I'm working. And for me, like my personality type, that type of guilt it doesn't sit well with me. You know what I mean? So I think I'm proud of myself for learning to say no without feeling guilty. And it does sometimes offend people, but I'm not responsible for other people's feelings. And I don't need to explain myself. Like, I'm a grown woman who her life is paid for by her and her husband, mostly my husband, but and yeah, I don't need to like apologize. I don't owe anybody anything. So, and that doesn't also mean that you're like, "Oh, I hate family," or like, it's not that. You're just setting those boundaries for yourself and what literally makes you feel at peace. So, it's pretty simple, but yeah, that's really hard for me, and it's even still hard for me, but it's something I'm really trying to get better at. I mean, I do say that I say that I've been doing a better job with it recently, but it's definitely something that has taken me years to get to the point of even being able to like say no. Like, I don't want to do that. Um but I think it's so important to be good at that. Okay. The third thing I have on my self-worth and boundaries list is keeping friendships that give the same effort that I give. And it's plain and simple. It's because I deserve that and I deserve nothing less. And I would say that every single person who's listening to this should feel the same way about yourself. I've kind of started to view myself as like, if I were giving advice to a friend, what would that advice look like? Like, would I tell them that, you know, you don't need to, if someone continually is like not putting in effort, oh, it's fine, just keep doing it. I'm sure, like, you know, it'll be fine. And then you keep saying that for years. It's like, okay, but at what point do you stop yourself and actually think like, wait, why am I always the one who's putting in energy and effort into this friendship and the other person's literally only reciprocating when, you know, like something's my idea. And I just feel like that is like, it's just not something that I vibe with. Like, if I'm going to have friendships with people, I need them to equally put in the same amount of effort. Okay. The next thing is I've stopped apologizing for wanting more, like more money, being a better version of myself, and having more of my time back. So I would say that having more of my time back kind of goes into like also saying no, because a lot of times I would be sacrificing something that I actually want most, but I'm essentially giving that up because I'm trying to appease somebody else by doing what they want. I think a lot of times our culture can be like, oh, if you want more of something, then you are superficial or you want X, Y, or Z. When for me personally, the reason why I have always loved the idea of, like, for example, having more money is because I view money as a tool that will make my life easier. So having a assistant, having house cleaners, having, you know, help in any way that I want. It's not, for me, it's not buying like very luxury things. Like, I don't actually really care. Yes, it's like fun, I guess, every once in a while to do that, but that's not like the main reason why I value making a lot of money. And so, yeah, I think, and there's nothing wrong with wanting more of yourself. So that's definitely something that I have stopped, you know, apologizing for and done for myself in my 20s thus far. Okay, the fifth thing on my my self-worth and boundaries list, and last thing, is spend intentional time alone and specifically to be bored. And that usually for me means going on walks. I am such a walk girly. I love going on a good evening or morning walk. Like, there is nothing in this world that I love more than that. And it's so relaxing. It's so soothing. Usually I'll go for like, 3 miles or something. So, which ends up being like close to an hour, maybe just over an hour. And half the time I try to for at least 30, usually it's like 40 minutes, I would say. I'm not listening to anything. There's no music. There's no podcast, nothing like that on. And then for the other time, I'll either do a meditation, like a walking meditation, like the Melissa Wood Health, or a Joe Dispenza meditation. I have done Joe Dispenza meditations since since Colby and I got married. And I love the Skinny Confidential podcast, and I heard her say that she also does those meditations, and I was like, love that, because I Joe Dispenza is freaking incredible. And then I also got the Melissa Wood Health tip from that podcast as well. So I think podcasts are great. I think I just really value quiet time. And as I get older, it's something I have learned to kind of value just more and more, because you start to realize, like, wow, if I don't make time for myself to just like sit and think, I will literally lose like my own kind of like whatever is special about me. It can kind of just be molded into whatever, just based on what other people say and think. Okay, the next topic is body and wellness. So I'm just gonna like keep going down the list. So this is number 6. So I don't personally drink alcohol ever, or do any sort of like drugs. And I also avoid caffeine as well, besides like the occasional matcha. Usually it's like when I'm on vacation or, whenever, but I'm actually not drinking any caffeine at all right now, because my naturopath that I'm doing my acupuncture with, she really recommended that to me. So I was like, okay. Which again, it's not really something that I was already doing in the first place, but Dr. Amen, I remember I was living in California at the time, and I was sometimes drinking like a Celsius, and when I say like a little bit, like I would literally drink like a quarter of a cup just to before a workout. So I could be like killing it on the Stairmaster while I'm doing my yoga, or not my yoga, my Pilates or whatever. But he was just saying the effects of caffeine, like it's basically a placebo. Like it's actually not giving you more energy. It's actually draining your body of energy. And it's like switching different receptors in your brain, where it's just like it impacts your sleep. It just has so many negative benefits, where I was like, eh. Okay, so I cut out drinking energy drinks for the most part. Definitely, again, not doing any of that right now. And when I am pregnant again, I will also absolutely not be drinking any caffeine, no soda. Like when I was pregnant, it was very hard for me to eat anything at all. And so I was eating like a lot of sourdough and crackers. And my next time around being pregnant, I'm like, oh, I had a lot of eggs. I was eating a crazy amount of scrambled eggs. But my next time around, I'm like, I will just be forcing like ground beef patties down my throat, because I don't know. I feel like you become maybe a little bit tougher each time after being pregnant, but hopefully I won't be as sick as I was the first time. That's really my hope with my levels will be, my hormone thyroid levels will be like, hopefully by that point, at a very good point when I do get pregnant. Because it can take a few months for your thyroid levels to just level out, which again, no one ever talks about this with women and women's health, and I will never understand it. Actually, I need to share something really quick. This girl DM'd me and was like, my mom had like 5 or 6 miscarriages before she got pregnant, and they found out that she had, I think it was Hashimoto's as well. Like her TSH was really high, which just means again that you're not producing enough of a certain, you're not producing enough hormones to like have a healthy baby and healthy pregnancy. And she was like, as soon as she got on medication, she had like 4 or 5 kids after that. And I'm like, okay, I would say like kind of like giggle when I say that, but to me it's like actually such a joke with how there is no preconception care that goes into women's health, and it really pisses me off. Like I actually told my husband, I was like, if I didn't love what I do with my podcast and other things that I'm currently working on, I would 1,000,000% get a degree in like being a naturopath, possibly even like midwifery. And I would open up a practice and focus on preconception and postpartum care for women, even like I guess pregnancy as well, because that's also incredibly important, where you just do blood work, you check all the levels, you see if there's any underlying conditions that need help fixing. Um, I'll give one example. I know that the ketogenic diet is what a lot of other countries, like Japan, for example, they put women on that when they have PCOS, because a lot of times PCOS is caused by insulin resistance. And, a lot of doctors in America, it's just like, it's just so crazy how they do not understand that like food can also be a form of medicine. And you don't just need to prescribe people very expensive pills and medications to fix something. Now, obviously, there is a place for medicine, so I'm not saying there's not. I literally take thyroid medication myself, but there are also other things that I do personally to help my thyroid in tandem with the thyroid medication, and I was able to heal my Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism naturally before I was pregnant. But pregnancy is like a whole other thing that just puts a lot of stress on the body, and I think if you are doing all the things to help, and even then, that's a good time when medication is necessary, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times things can very easily be healed naturally. And again, PCOS is a big one. And a lot of doctors just, they make money from people being sick, which is, again, I'm not going to go into that because it's a whole other tangent, but I'm very passionate about that. And that's something that I, would just love to do. Okay. The next thing, which kind of goes into all this, is I got my thyroid hormones tested, obviously, but like the overall arcing thing with the number 7 on my list is advocating for my own health. Experiencing a miscarriage, which again is pregnancy loss. And I really wish that, I think a lot of times on Instagram, at least women that I've talked to and who have experienced it, understand how like heartbreaking it is. And you're like, no, I experienced the loss of my child. Like a lot of a lot of people don't actually understand that that's how intense it is and how violent it also is to experience that. You go into labor, literally, if you if the pregnancy passes on its own, and then you also experience a postpartum, but you're like, I said this to one of my friends, I was like, I was experiencing postpartum which is just a whole thing and it's in its own, but then I was like, but I don't even have a baby. So it's like, my baby literally died, didn't even get to carry it all the way, which I know sounds like so like, whoa, but it's like, that's literally what happens to women. And for some reason, it's just like, oh, you're fine, you'll be fine, like you'll get over it, when it's like the pregnancy hormone literally can stay in your body for a month, 2 months for some women. I don't know if it's ever longer than that. But I did a ton of research on this when I was going through my miscarriage, because I was like, how do women like even function after experiencing this? And a lot of the women that I talked to were saying that whenever they've experienced pregnancy loss, it always makes them appreciate their babies that they do have a lot more. But I was like, I don't have that. I was like, I literally don't have a baby to hold and to like, love on and all. Like I didn't have that. And so anyways, it's just been advocating for my health in so many different ways. Even telling people like, no, this is how the experience was for me. And, and that also, health also equals mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, all those things, they all go together, at least in my mind. And my pregnancy loss experience was something that just really, especially with doctors, like I now, when I go to a new doctor, I am interviewing them. Like, do I want to hire them? I think of it the exact same as if I don't go to therapy like I was already mentioning, but if I were to see a therapist like I have in the past, like I did when I was in high school, I would be interviewing them essentially. Like, do I like this person? Do I vibe with them? I think a lot of people too blindly just trust whatever their doctor says instead of doing their own research, when it's like you have to understand too that your doctor was only trained in one, area. Like there's so many other types and parts of health that just don't get discussed in medical school, which again, a whole separate tangent. But um yeah, I think it's very important to advocate for your own health. And when you feel like something is wrong, you need to make sure that you have a team, especially like during pregnancy, for example, who listens to you and they value your opinion. And if you don't, then you need to fire them and go find somebody else. Because trust me, from past experience, like, not that my team did anything wrong, but I did call them the day that I was pregnant, and I said, the day I found out I was pregnant, and I said, hey, I have Hashimoto's. Do I need to get blood work done for medication? And I actually called 6 different doctors' offices, and they all said no. And obviously they were wrong, but the fact that I called so many different doctors' offices and none of them, like, they all just were like, no, you're fine. Like, that's crazy. That is so crazy. And there's a very good chance that that's what caused my miscarriage. So again, just take it from me and advocate for your own health. Use ChatGPT as well. Use AI. AI is great. It literally scrapes data from the entire internet, and that's where it gets the information from. You can even ask for it to like cite sources on where it's getting information. A lot of times it does it automatically. And it's very, 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 very cool because it's, helping people take control of their health. Obviously, don't like self-diagnose something, especially when it's like something very serious. But I do think that you can learn a lot, and there's so much power in educating yourself. So, okay, number 8 is prioritizing sleep like it's skincare. Now, I am still someone who, oh my gosh, I don't know if this will ever change until I'm pregnant again, but when I was pregnant, I would literally go to bed at like 9 p.m. because I could not stay awake past that. And I'd wake up at like 6 a.m. every single day. My body just completely, like, my circadian rhythm was just like reset. So I feel like until I'm pregnant again, I'm just like not really worrying about it, because naturally I've always been a very much so night owl person. Like, literally since I was a child, I've always liked staying up late. And so, yeah, I'm just not worried about it. And I'm sure once I have kids, it's going to change. But I do love my 9 to 10, sometimes even 11 hours of sleep. And I just trust my body, and I don't ever set a alarm. I'm obviously very privileged to be able to do that. But it's, it's something that I definitely prioritize a lot. Sorry, I have to get a drink of water if I like pause, because it's so freaking dry in Utah that my throat just dries out so fast. It's crazy. Okay, number 9. This is such a major realization that happened in my 20s that I'm so eternally grateful for, and that was switching to clean beauty. I ditched my 20-step chemical-filled skincare routine. My skin has literally never looked better. My skin is constantly glowing. I'm like glowing from the inside out. I know that I'm not poisoning myself and my hormones and my endocrine and my reproductive system, because what a lot of people don't realize, and again, I've talked about this a lot, but I will never shut up about it, is our skin is our biggest organ. And for some reason, there's like no regulations on, like, there are regulations with like skincare and the cosmetic industry, but there are ingredients like talc is a very, controversial ingredient because it's been, there's been studies that have like said it's caused cancer and stuff like that. So, but that's kind of my whole point, is there's a lot of insanely harsh chemicals that, again, there are studies done on this that cause cancer. They can even cause things like infertility. And I'm not down for that. So also, like, these very harsh chemicals and harsh things that I've done to my skin literally only made my skin break out more and made my skin worse. So I'm like dialing it very back and I'm actually using Clean Beauty. Now, the only thing that I am still having a hard time switching, and I'm in the process of and have been for like a year and a half, is makeup. It takes a long time to like really get rid of all your makeup, switch it out. And honestly, a lot of products that I want to see on the market, they don't exist. So that's also another thing that hopefully one day I will be able to do, is having not just my skincare all clean, but also my makeup. Okay, number 10 is I fell in love with movement in a different way because I've actually loved working out really since I was like, I think I started working out when I was like 13, which is very young, but it was just from sports. Even younger than that, I guess, if you count sports. But I started like running and weightlifting when I was 13. But I would say movement wise, I just love like moving my body. And Pilates, walks, and weightlifting are my three favorite. But I also love, like, I really want to get into tennis. I love pickleball. And I, now that it's getting warmer outside, I'm like, oh, Colby, we need to go play pickleball. But I actually really want to get into tennis. So I want my kids to also play tennis because it's really great for development, and tennis is great too when you're older as well, but really good sport for your brain. It's actually like been shown to reduce Alzheimer's and dementia, which is crazy because I can't remember what it's called. This is again a Dr. Amen quote, but it does something to your brain and those muscles essentially, and it just like keeps them active. So it's great. But yeah, oh man, I love going on a long walk. Like when we were in Hawaii, I was like, oh my gosh, when we could just walk out onto the beach and just walk for like 3 miles every morning, it was actually heaven. Like it was incredible. Okay. The next section that we have is relationships and marriage. So number 11 on my list is built a strong friendship with my husband. So I got married when I was 20. So I think that that's why I loved putting that is because really like just every year that goes by after being married, I'm like, number one, I don't know like how it is possible to keep falling in love with someone more and more as the years go on, but it is. And number two, you just become closer and closer. Kind of like I was saying, I feel like my husband and I are like the same person in a lot of ways because we just get each other. We literally tell each other I probably tell him too many random tiny little details that like he doesn't need to know. But he's just literally the best. Like, I love him so much, and I'm so proud of our relationship that we have together. And like he's genuinely my best friend, and he's just I love him so much. Like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, what did I do to like deserve my husband? Because I always tell him, I'm like, I fear if I never met you, I don't know if I would be married right now. Possibly. There's a good chance. But like I don't know. He's so incredible in so many ways, and like I'm so lucky to have him as my husband, and I really want every girl to have a husband like my husband because of how emotionally intelligent he is. It literally makes like we never I'm not again, don't compare yourself, okay, to it's never good to compare to other relationships because no two people are the same. So, but we never get into arguments, and I literally think it's because of how much we just talk to each other, and because we are genuinely best friends. Because we just talk so much, there's never like some sort of like miscommunication, if you know what I mean. And like it's very interesting, but like I don't even know when the last time was that we got into like an argument, which is crazy because I'm really trying to think. But I'm very grateful for that. And again, people are always like, marriage is hard. Honestly, this might be a hot take, but I actually disagree with that. I feel like if you are genuinely in a healthy relationship where both people are very good at communicating and pull their own weight, marriage is easy. It's easy, it's fun. You're literally having sleepovers with your best friend every single night. You're watching a show. You're maybe even raising kids together that are literally miniature versions of you. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't know. Don't put your like bad experience on me, because I'm just going to say, from my point of view, marriage is easy. Yes, it takes work, but marriage is not quote unquote hard, like people say. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, okay, this is a good way to compare it. Probably when you go to the gym and you're working out and you're, you know, weightlifting or whatever, it's like, wow, that was like, I put in the work for that. I feel like in a marriage, the equivalent to that would be like spending time together and going on dates and having fun conversations, which my husband and I always, every single Saturday night, go on a date night together. And if we have something else on like a Saturday, then we go on Friday. And even when we have a baby, like, we will still be doing that. We will 1,000,000% still be doing that. Even if it's like at home when we're postpartum, when I'm postpartum, we will be doing movie nights at home until we can go out. And actually, one thing that's so great about Utah is that the movie theater here they have this thing called like a quiet room. So if your baby's like, you can literally take your baby to the movies, and if your baby's quiet, then you can go into this room in the theater and you can still watch the movie and everything, but people can't hear your baby crying. It's so amazing. So that's how I feel about building a strong friendship with my husband. And let me just tell you, even if like, here's the other thing too, is like, I'm not dumb where I'm like, okay, sure, there's going to be things that are hard with like having a baby and adjustments, but that does not scare me. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm just like, sweet, let's go. We're entering like a new era. I'm very excited to have your babies. Like, let's do this thing. Like, I think when you are in a healthy relationship, that's a good thing to feel. And that's how I feel. So again, everyone's different. Don't compare, because that's not good. I'm just telling you from my perspective that I'm just essentially, I guess, sharing my perspective and my experience. Okay. Number 12, which, by the way, I've just saying one more thing actually about marriage and stuff. I never, ever, ever, ever gossip about my husband. I never have, never will. Not to his family, never to my family, never to any of my friends, nothing. I will never, ever speak badly about my husband to anybody. I will never talk about our marriage. I will never talk about our relationship. So yeah, I think that is also incredibly important. And if I ever did, I'd probably hire a therapist if I ever have to, because it's no one's business what goes on in your marriage, in your relationship. And I know that is a hot take, even if you are going through something hard, and if you are experiencing abuse in any way of something like that. I'm not talking about that. Okay, that's different, and you should open up to someone that you trust. But I'm talking about your spouse maybe does something that annoys you. Do not go like, I'm not telling you to do something. I'm just saying what I do. Yeah, I would never do that. That would never even cross my mind. I just actually I thought of that because someone recently told me, someone in my family said that they really respected that about Colby and I. And I was like, oh, I never even I guess I have thought about it, but not really at the same time, because it's just a no-brainer in my mind. And yeah, that's actually something that in general I take a lot of pride in, is that I am not someone who, oh my gosh, my throat is so dry. Sorry. I am not someone who like engages in gossip about other people. The only person I will ever gossip with is my husband. And usually it's because I'm annoyed with somebody and I need to vent. I'm like, maybe he's my therapist. But yeah, like that's all I'll say about that. Okay. Number 12, I stopped oversharing with people who didn't deserve access to my life. Now, I would say in the way that like I would overshare, it would be with things like around work or how I was feeling about myself personally, because again, I've never once ever, I love that I could say this, I've never once ever shared anything about my marriage. If something, like if I got into a fight or something, which again, I can't even think of anything. There's never been anything that's like, you know, that's so dramatic like that. But yeah, never done that. And I think that when it comes to oversharing, I would do it in like very small ways where it's like, oh, this person I was working with did X, Y, or Z. And then I'm like, wait, why did I tell you that? Because now I just like essentially gave you ammo in a way. Or just very personal things that happened to me. Like, I never felt this way with sharing my miscarriage, story and situation, but I can see maybe there's some things that I overshared that I was like, why did I say that? Actually, I do know that there was one thing that I said. Even just telling people like certain like how long it took to get pregnant or something like that. I'm like, wait, why did I say that? That's no one else's business. So I think stuff like that, and again, even if it's like a good thing, it's like you're not entitled to that, and why did I give you access to that information? And I'm someone who sometimes I overshare when, I don't know, I feel like I just feel very comfortable around people because I'm not someone who gossips about people, and so I kind of assume that everybody's like that. And that's like 1,000,000% not the case. So, and I did this, I feel like I overshared probably the most when I was like a teenager, but again, also in my 20s, and we are stopping that. We do not do that anymore. We are denying that energy and that vibe. Okay, number 13, learned how to get my point across and communicate like a grown ass woman. Gosh, I'm still working on this. This is mostly with family, I would say, and mostly my family, but I am not someone, again, because I'm a people pleaser. I will just, again, I've been better at this, but I'm just learning how to stand up for myself and again, treat myself how I would expect or how I would tell a friend to treat themselves and have boundaries for themselves. And so I think I always felt like contention was bad when sometimes there's not even contention to begin with. If you have like an argument with someone, it's like, no, you just have a difference of opinion. That's totally okay and totally normal. And I probably have some stuff just from like, childhood. Everyone has childhood trauma. Okay. No parents are perfect. And even like saying that just can kind of sound silly. And you can have some, like I had some gnarly things happen to me as a child and as a adult that I really freaking hope none of my kids ever have to experience. But maybe, maybe it's just like inevitable. I don't know. But I think because of that, I learned to like be someone who can shut down around people who I'm not very comfortable with. Now, my husband does not fit into this category because I could literally tell him anything and everything. And I think it's also because he is a man in my life who like has been very good at like listening to me and respecting what I'm saying, and he actually internalizes what I'm saying. Like Colby is a very good listener. And that hasn't always been something that I've experienced specifically with men, also with some women as well. And so I think I learned to just like shut down. And again, I think this is very common, especially with teenagers and kids. And I actually can't wait to have kids. And like, I know this sounds weird, but I kind of want to treat my kids and my teenagers like adults because most of their life they will be an adult. And if we, I don't know, I just think that that could be maybe something that could like help to not have the same, you know, issue essentially that I have here, which has been really hard for me to rewire in my 20s. And it's kind of been something like, it kind of goes back to the thing of like learning to say no instead of just saying yes. Like I'll just speak before I even like, I'll commit essentially before I even think about what I'm actually committing to or if it's something I even want to do, just because I don't want to hurt that person's feelings. So we're learning all those things, and we're learning to communicate like a grown-ass woman, okay? Okay, number 14, I realized that I'm not responsible for other people's opinions of me. I think this is so powerful once you can come to either the realization that other people's opinions of you do not change who you are as a person. And more times than not, if somebody has a negative opinion of you, this is from my experience, okay? Again, it's normally because you make that person feel insecure in one way or another, or maybe even guilt or shame. So I'll use this as an example. I had someone who I was friends with when I was a teenager, and she did incredibly crazy, messed up things to me. Like I could have sued her. She could have, like, it was very intense and very traumatic. And still to this day, like, people that we were like friends with, she went and, gossiped or whatever and like got people to turn against me. And it was something where I was like, wait, what? I don't even know what's going on. Like, this is very weird, very strange. And learning to just let go and really not care, like, truly, and seeing it as your benefit. Like, for me, I'm like, wow, Heavenly Father was really looking out for me in this scenario and this situation, because this person clearly actually really did not have good intentions at all. And things could have gotten even worse than they did. And if people choose to believe, I don't even know what was said, because that's what's so, honestly, like, some girls, I always tell Colby, I'm like, dude, some girls are literally, at least I experienced very intense, crazy things as a teenage girl. Like, I don't know if other girls did. I don't know. I think a lot of times there's a lot of things in Utah culture that are very interesting and very weird, I will say. And this person lived in Utah County, and it was even more intense in the Utah County, Provo, like that whole area. And I don't know why I love Utah so much, but that was a very weird thing to experience. And, anyways, but just coming back to what I was saying, realizing that you're not responsible for other people's opinions of yourself or of you is so empowering. And again, I'm realizing how much of these things that I wrote down kind of tie into each other, like telling people no or standing up for yourself, not letting people push you around. I used to be someone who, oh my gosh, like, it was just so bad. And when I look back at it, I'm like, that poor girl just had things that she experienced in her childhood. She never felt like she could actually say what she was thinking or speak her mind. And so she learned to just fully shut down. Like, I'm talking about, like, the child version of myself and how it leaks into things in your 20s. And because of that, she became someone who felt responsible when other people had a negative opinion about her, because she felt like she did something wrong. And now, once you like really just come back and you realize that that's really just all not true, it is so incredibly empowering and freeing at the same time. So, oh, I feel like I'm in a therapy session right now. I don't even know what that would feel like. Okay. Motherhood and future planning. So, this is definitely something I would say I started thinking seriously about getting pregnant when I turned 25. So, probably like 2022. Was I 25 in 2022 or was I 24? I don't know. Math is hard. But wait, is it 2025? No, in 2022, I was way younger than that. I'm 27 right now. So, yeah, 2 years ago, I started thinking about it. And, which I feel like is normal because you're like, oh, I'm in my mid 20s. Like, this is crazy, especially as someone who got married so young. And I started to really think about like the supplements I was taking. That's kind of, I guess, no, I was probably 24 when I started thinking about supplements and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I got to make sure like I'm getting some folate. And so I started taking like beef liver, and I kind of started dabbling into like raw milk and all of these things that were, foods that have been around for literally forever since the beginning of time. But yeah, I think it was very empowering to start caring for my body in that way and preparing myself. And I think weightlifting, Pilates, walking, all those things are like incredible ways to prepare myself for pregnancy mentally and physically as well. And then this number 16 that I wrote was rebuilding trust in my body after loss, which I will say I'm still I do fully trust my body. Like my body knows what it's doing. Even with, once you experience a miscarriage, it was very okay, I'm back. Colby just brought the girls down here. It's super windy outside and I left the door upstairs for them open because Colby's been really sick, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave the back door open for them while I'm like filming in case they need to like go potty or something. And I was like, wait, what the heck? How did Luna get down here? Luna has a very specific pep in her step, so I know when it's her. Versus Nova. Nova's like very slow and chill. Luna's like like she just walks so much faster than Nova. But turns out it was just all of them coming to say hi. So got to see my cute little family. Okay, so yeah, rebuilding trust in my body after loss. I was going to say that I was actually like very grateful that my body knew exactly what to do in order to pass the pregnancy, that, the baby in whatever way wasn't viable. And I think it was because of my hormone levels, which is like, it's kind of hard for me to like swallow that pill because it's something that probably could have been avoided. But again, I'm just like, this is God's plan. Like pregnancy is such a thing, an experience where you just really have to surrender and understand that you don't have control over almost everything with pregnancy. You have control of a lot of the preconception, and you do have a lot of control during pregnancy, of course, but things like that, especially knowing that I did my best, is like, okay, we are fully surrendering. This is exactly like Heavenly Father always knew, that this was going to happen. So but yeah, rebuilding that trust is very cool. And I will say it's a very cool experience in the sense where it's like, wow, women's bodies were literally meant to give birth. Like we were made to have babies. And that to me is like so freaking cool, where pregnancy to me now is just like, man, it's such a miracle. Like, especially when a baby goes full term and birth is smooth and everything. I'm like, that is such a beautiful experience. And I actually was listening to a TikTok, and this girl, a lot of my TikTok has like been pregnancy stuff ever since I found out I was pregnant last year. Like it just hasn't ever changed because I still love consuming that type of content. It's very exciting and fun and all that type of stuff. Sometimes I will say though, I have to get off of social media because especially if I'm like feeling extra emotional, it's like, it's still hard. It's like again, I think literally until you have a baby, after you experience miscarriage with your first until you have a baby, essentially, it's kind of like it can always be a little bit triggering, which it makes sense, you know. But this girl on TikTok was saying how she's like, you need to look up positive birth stories on YouTube. She's like, even watch them, like watch a birth that goes very happily and healthy. She's like, they're very common. And she said healthy birth stories that are positive are way more common than negative ones, but the negative ones get way more attention and energy. And people also just love to spew negative energy on pregnancy. And I don't even know how many times I could tell you from my own experience. Like when I tell someone, I'm like, yeah, I want to do like a more natural birth. I'm like, I don't know if I'll have like a birth plan though, because I also want to be very go with the flow, but like I want to trust my body and you know, this is something that just feels right for me. And I remember one time I told someone that I was like, yeah, I'm like, maybe I would do like a midwife or a birth center. And immediately it was like all negative, all negative. When like, oh, I know so and so and their baby died. And like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't know. Like my brain, I'm like, I could tell you 5 women I know, literally 5, who have given birth either at their house. Actually, it's more than 5 at their house, like in their tub or in their bed or whatever, or at a birth center. And their births are incredibly beautiful and like seamless. Again, because our bodies, women have been doing this for forever. And I think it's very important to build that trust in yourself mentally and physically and emotionally and practice that if you have experienced having a miscarriage, because sometimes I'll catch myself being like, whoa, like I kind of feel a little like nervous about, you know, something or whatever. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not claiming that energy. And honestly, this also sounds maybe like a little grim, but I promise you I'm not meaning for it to. I'm just being very honest with myself. And I'm like, Tara, you've already experienced like the worst possible outcome of losing your baby. So it's really like there's really only up. Like you can't really go lower than that because a loss is a loss. You lost your baby. Like that is the worst possible thing that can happen from being pregnant. So anyways, but weirdly that's like been very like powerful for me at the same time. So okay, number 17, letting go of timelines and leaning into God's timing. I think this is something I'm still not perfect with, and I feel like a lot of women really struggle with this. Again, I'm like laughing, but it's also like I'm not actually laughing. I'm laughing in the sense where it's like it's actually just it's so silly because there's no like society is just so it's so silly how it's like, okay, so if you're not married by the time you're 22 and you don't have a baby by the time you're 23 or your first baby, and you are so far behind in life. When it's like people are going to be living longer. Like our generation, like if you're also Gen Z, we will be living longer if you obviously are healthy and you take care of yourself than any of the generations before us. And it will just continue. The life expectancy will just continue to be going up. With that comes hopefully, you know, more times that you can be pregnant, all that kind of stuff. I can go into all that for forever. But what it really comes down to is that someone else's story of like when they got pregnant or had their first kid or whatever has literally nothing to do with you. And here's what I've noticed is that a lot of people project. So I had someone literally recently essentially say that I am like old basically for like having my first baby, which was so crazy. And I can't ever imagine saying that to somebody. They said it indirectly, but they were talking about somebody else who was literally the exact same age as me. And I was like, if you're saying that that person's old, then you're literally saying that I'm old. Anyways, um so crazy. Like it's and that type of stuff can be very hurtful. Like it really can. And you kind of just have to like not focus on it and not listen to it because honestly people are stupid and they say stupid things. Everybody does. And just it's kind of learning, like, at least for me, I'm like, I just have to brush it off. And if something ever does bother me, because that was something that I will say, like, it made me cry when that person said that, because it was someone that is, close to me. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. It of course hurt. And I let myself feel those feelings, but I did not want to wallow in that because I was like, look, just because you have an idea of, maybe like in their mind they have an idea of like, oh, once someone's been married for 2 years then you start trying to get pregnant, maybe like that's what they have in their mind and that's their belief. Well, I definitely don't hold that belief at all, and I think every single person is different, and I think our generation, it's also very different. It is 20 times more expensive to live now. Let me see if it's actually 20. I think it might even be more than that. Let's ask chat. Based on people who were born in 1965, how much more expensive is it now for a average 25-year-old versus when someone was born in 1965 to live in the United States of America? I really hope it got all of that, but let's just see what it says because I've seen a lot of charts and it's quite insane. So a 25-year-old born in 1990 and okay, this is just like, holy crap. Wait, that's so wait. Oh my gosh, I think this is way more than I thought. Okay, so like for example, owning a home is 50% higher. That's crazy. Um wow. I didn't know it was that much higher. That makes sense. I mean, my parents like bought their first house, I think, for like 100K. What? That doesn't even exist anymore. Not even close. And that wasn't even that long ago. Okay. Okay, chat is giving too much. Okay, so it's approximately 36% more expensive in real terms. So there, yeah, a 64% increase. Wow, that's crazy for rent. 155% increase for education. 138% increase for healthcare. 84% increase on transportation and new technology, obviously just spending more money, but wow, that's way more, I guess. I guess I said 20 times, so um that's that's crazy. So when you take all of that into account, you're like, well, no, duh, people are waiting a little bit longer to have kids. I know for me personally, I didn't want to have a baby when like I was like still working on, I was at the height of like getting my career to a very good point. Obviously, again, like that's just something that I wanted for myself, and I kind of view, when you're an entrepreneur, it's very different than, you know, someone who's going to school, but I kind of view them as like a similar thing where it's like, yes, you can make it work. Of course, all of that is great. Again, everyone can do what works for them. But for me, starting to have babies at 27 felt very right. And I think I just need to constantly remind myself of that because um I think when it didn't happen, like initially, I think that's why it's now hard for me again and why I'm like a little bit more sensitive to it. Um, but yeah, again, I think it's really good to just lean into God's timing. And this could go for anyone. Like I have a lot of friends who are either over 30 or close to 30 and they really want to be married and they just haven't found the right person yet. And again, it's like, doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong. It's just that everybody's timeline is different. And if someone ever says anything to you where you're just like, that was so out of pocket, just push it to the side, literally move on. Maybe just don't talk to that person about that thing anymore and whatever higher power you believe in, whether it's the universe, God, just really hone into that and trust and believe that better things are to come in the future for you, and that your future is already written for you and it's exactly how it's supposed to be. And as long as you're working hard and making all the right choices, those things will unfold for you. And I genuinely do believe that. So, and it's very, again, surrendering is very beautiful to experience, but it's also hard. So, okay. Number 18 is prioritizing rest as a part of being a mom someday, not a luxury, but a skill. Okay, I don't really know what I was meaning when I said this, but I think I'm just meaning like slowing down. I'm like, wait, what was I meaning? Because I'll be so honest, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this. Maybe I meant to like rewrite it and I didn't. But I do think that rest is incredibly important as a mom. And I will say it's not just like getting sleep, it's like taking time for yourself to do whatever you need to do to like feel rejuvenated, whether it's going to the gym, going on date nights with your husband, those types of things. I think those are incredibly important, and give your body that rest and that reset that it needs. And that's definitely something I've actually always been pretty good at doing that. Um, I would say like naturally. So I don't know. Again, I don't know why I wrote that. That's the first thing where I'm like, wait, what what was she thinking? She really thought she was cooking, but she literally left us with nothing. So, okay. Last thing, trophy life energy. So, obviously creating trophy life was amazing, but I think this can relate to a lot of you in different ways where I created trophy life. It was a community for the girls who want to make, online friends and IRL friends and become the best version of themselves and romanticize their life. And I would say this can relate to you in the sense where if you are someone who wants to um yeah, I guess make friends, make community, have hobbies, have certain crafts that you get better at, I think it's very cool to focus on whatever that is for you, whether it's like painting or knitting or sewing, cooking, baking. Oh my gosh, just like romanticizing your life and tapping into that feminine energy is absolutely incredible. And I think that's something that I have ever since I created Trophy Life, which was not long ago. But I've just really been trying to not feel guilty for taking time for myself in those capacities, because I think a lot of times I'm like, okay, if I'm not being like super productive every second I'm awake, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting my life away. I'm wasting my time, which I think some of that is like healthy. And I think it's like the hustler that lives inside of my brain and literally has since I was like, I don't know, 10, maybe even younger than that. Whenever I started wanting to, like make my own money or have success in different ways or with like sports or whatever. But I think again, just channeling that is like so powerful. And it's something that I'm proud of that I've been able to do specifically in my later 20s, just, taking time for like hobbies. Like I love gaming. I've always loved gaming and um not feeling guilty for like having fun in that capacity, because work is obviously fun in its own way, but also spending time playing video games with my husband. Sometimes I like just play by myself. Actually, when my husband and I will fight is when we're playing video games. That like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. That's actually so funny. It's like obviously like not actually fighting. It's just like it's so silly because it's literally a video game. But oh my gosh, that cracks me up. That just reminded me of last time we played and I was like, I'm not playing with you anymore. And I like got off. I was like, nope, I'm done. I feel like if any girls out there also love to play video games with their husband or their boyfriend, like you get it. You get it. Okay. Number 20. This is very fitting, but romanticizing my everyday life and not feeling guilty for it. And this kind of ties in with number 19, but it's just in very small ways. Like, I love having like a slow morning. I love it. I think I don't feel the need to like hustle and bustle, and I do move quickly. Um, but especially like in the season of my life that I'm in right now, I'm just romanticizing this time and this era because quite literally, I won't have like those very super slow mornings that are just chill. And like once you have kids, a lot of that it just changes. It's different. Again, not bad, but it's just appreciating where I am in whatever season and chapter of life I'm in at the moment and romanticizing the hell out of it. Like that, oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. And I also feel like it really helps me to feel very grateful at the same time because I feel like when you are focused on things that just bring a lot of joy into your life, you, in so many different parts and areas of your life, you just you can show up as a better version of yourself when you're just taking those tiny little extra steps to like love something that you're doing. So I'll give you an example of this. When I'm cooking dinner in the evening, if I ever don't feel like cooking dinner, I'll be like, okay, what can I do to like make this more exciting? Kind of like romanticize the fact that I'm going to be making dinner. I'll be like, I want to watch the Kardashians and I want to pour myself a sparkling water. And that's what I'll do. And I am telling you, it makes the experience for me, at least when I'm cooking dinner, 1,000,000 times better. It makes it way more fun. I feel like I'm like spending time on myself. Like it's almost like therapeutic in a way. And I really feel like it's also very grounding, which again might sound weird, but it's being intentional and taking those extra steps to have that better experience for something. Maybe even like while you're getting ready, you love watching like a YouTube video, or while you're doing work, maybe you want to like have a show on in the background. I don't know. And obviously you don't want to be like not putting in the same amount of work, that you could in other ways. But I think sometimes when you're like, I just need like a push, like I really don't want to do this, or like, when I go on the Stairmaster, I love to just like scroll on TikTok or like, stuff like that, where it's like, I'm like almost like habit stacking in a sense. But I think that there's just something about it that's so fun, of just making those things that you're already doing in your day extra special, extra meaningful, extra beneficial as well. Because that's definitely romanticizing your life is also, like habit stacking definitely fits into that. And yeah, I love that about trophy life. And I love women need more of that. We can always use more of romanticizing our life. And again, do not ever feel guilty for it. Okay. That is if you take anything from this episode, just take that. Do not feel guilty for romanticizing your life. Okay, you guys, I love you. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I feel like this episode, I don't know if it was super long, but it feels like it, but maybe it's because my throat is shot. Colby's been sick for like a week, almost 8 days now, with a crazy either like sinus infection or the flu. I don't know, but he has a deviated septum. So whenever he gets like a sinus infection, it's like way worse, I feel like, than the average person, because he like quite literally can't breathe through his nose. Anyways, so yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as I did, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, love you. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. If you enjoyed it, make sure to join the Trophy Life Club. It's a free community for the girls by yours truly, and it's on Instagram. It's just at Trophy Life Club. You can also follow me at Tara Kelly Smith on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If you have an extra minute, I would also love and super appreciate if you would review the podcast. This will just help us reach more women who could use a little TLC, aka Trophy Life Club, in their life. So I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.